Hello and welcome back to the Northern Forge. I've been getting a lot of requests lately to do videos on how to forge a hammer. Well, in order to forge a hammer, I need hammer making tools because I haven't ever made a hammer before. So today I'm going to be forging a hammer eye punch. This is not going into my how-to series because this is my first time trying this hammer eye punch. So I'm probably going to need to do a couple of these before I get one that really works right. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into making this hammer eye punch. For this, I'm going to be forging from a piece of an old truck axle. It's about 1.25 inches in diameter, and I will be using a punch and drift that I already had on the shelf for putting the handle into it, plus a few different sets of tongs. Let's go ahead and jump right in. First thing I want to do is forge my round bar down to square on the power hammer. If you're going to be trying this and you're going to be buying the material, I would highly recommend that you start with purchased square material. It'll save yourself a lot of time, especially if you don't have a power hammer. But I already had this, so I'm going to go ahead and use this round and just forge it square. Once I have the whole bar forged down to a good square, I'm going to go ahead and forge a taper into one end. And this taper is going to come off a bit rough from the power hammer. That's just because of the nature of how the power hammer works. So once I have the taper forged, I'm going to take it over to the anvil and then just use the hand hammer to clean it up some, smooth it out, and then I'm also going to round the corners up just a little bit. I'll do more towards the end, but I just want to get a little bit started now so that I have a nice basis to go on. With the taper all cleaned up, I'm going to start punching the hole using the punch that I already had on the shelf. I'm just going to hold it with my tongs to keep my hand a little bit farther away, and I'm just going to proceed with punching a hole through. And once the hole is punched, I'm actually going to use the same punch to drift the hole out a bit. I kind of accidentally went off camera here a little bit, but I'm basically just driving that punch down in, use the taper of it just to drift the hole out a little bit so that there's enough room to eventually get my proper drift in. And I'm going to take here a second punch that has a straight, relatively cylindrical handle, and I'm actually going to drive that all the way through. That'll even out the hole before I start with the main drift. And here I'm just going to be using my main drift. Unlike with doing a normal hammer, I'm only going to taper this hole from one direction, and then I'm actually going to use a tomahawk style handle that will just drop all the way through and will be flared out of the top to kind of wedge in there. It doesn't need to be super secured because you actually want a little bit of play in that handle so that the vibrations don't transfer back to your hands when it's struck. With the hole drifted, I'm going to take a minute here to clean up and round out the edges of the taper a little bit more. I am eventually going to take this over to the grinder, but I want to get it forged to as close as possible. That way I can do as little grinding as possible. This is going to take some grinding, so I'm going to start off with a hard wheel on the angle grinder to take the forge scale off, and then once I've got all the forge scale removed, I'll jump over to the belt grinder. I've got all the forge scale ground off, so now it's over to the belt grinder. I will start by flattening out all four sides of the taper, and then I need to take some length off. Normally, I would be doing this with a cutoff wheel, as that would be a lot faster. You don't have to go through all the material that's being removed, but I don't know exactly how long I want it, how much I'm going to take off. So I'm going to do it here at the belt grinder. That way I can just take it off bit by bit, and I can stop once I get to the point where I've decided that it's a good spot. I'm making the handle for this out of some scrap wood that I had sitting on a shelf. I don't actually know what type of wood it is, but it was part of what I'm pretty sure was a busted cutting board, so I'm fairly certain that it's a hardwood. But like I said, don't know what kind it is. For this project, I just grabbed a convenient scrap. I'm going to use the draw knife to shave down the handle until the end starts to fit inside the eye of the punch. Then I'll just do the check and repeat technique until it fits nicely. I don't have to worry too much about making a perfect fit or making the handle too thin, since it's not going to be taking any kind of impact like a hammer. This is just going to be a struck tool. And of course, the last step in making any new tool is to test it out. I've got a cutoff here of some 3/4 square from another project, so I'm going to be testing using that. This first punch attempt didn't really go in very straight, so I'm going to reheat, move to another spot, and try again. You'll see that this bar is going to kind of distort a lot as I forge, or as I try and punch this hole. I think that's partially because of the relative size of the hole and the size of bar that I'm working with. I also have some trouble getting the plug to fall out here in a minute, and I think that also has to do with the size, but the edges of the front of my punch I think are a little bit too rounded. So I'll probably be doing some work on improving this punch, but I will also most likely be making another attempt at making one of these that's going to function better. Now, I'm sure there are some other smiths out there, hopefully somebody watching this video, who can give me some pointers on how to make these better. So if you do have any suggestions, please leave in the comments down below. You can see here on the end, the inside of the cheeks, there's a little bit of a gap around the handle. I'm not sure if this was the handle fit up or if it swelled out and the cheeks deformed as I was using it. I'll have to keep using it some more and see if it gets any worse. That'll tell me if it was there like that to begin with. But if you enjoyed, please like the video, subscribe so you can get notified next time I upload, and leave a comment down below with what you'd like to see me make next. Have a beautiful day.